It is 23 hours 30, Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. Sources in Lebanon say Israeli airplanes have bombed a Hezbollah target in southern Beirut for the second day. No deaths have been reported. Israel is expected to move farther north into Lebanon. On Thursday, Hezbollah fired more than 150 rockets at northern Israel. The attacks killed 8 civilians. Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, says his group will fire rockets at Tel Aviv if Israel attacks central Beirut. Israel has already bombed some parts of the city. Israeli officials say Defense Minister Amir Peretz has asked the Israeli army to prepare a move toward the Litani River. The river lies 30 kilometers north of Israel. Israel says it already controls a 6-kilometer-wide area of southern Lebanon. The United States and Britain say a United Nations resolution to halt the fighting in Lebanon is probably near. A State Department spokesman says the United States hopes for an agreement by Friday. British Prime Minister Tony Blair says he hopes the Security Council will agree soon. A possible resolution would call for an immediate ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. Mr. Blair says a UN measure also will put an international force in Lebanon. France wants a ceasefire to take effect before troops are deployed, but the United States wants peacekeepers in place first. The commander of United States forces in the Middle East says a civil war could develop in Iraq if religious violence is not stopped. General John Abizaid spoke to a committee of the United States Congress Thursday. General Abizaid said the religious violence in Iraq is probably as bad as he has ever seen it. He also said more people are attempting to hold the country together than break it into pieces. Iraqi police say a bomb explosion in central Baghdad has killed at least 10 people. About 20 others were wounded. Also Thursday, the United States military said 2 Marines died as a result of enemy action in Al-Anbar province. Also in Iraq, Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Aso made a brief visit to Baghdad. He announced a $29 million loan for rebuilding projects. In other news, thousands of followers of Shiite clergyman Muqtada al-Sadr are gathering in Baghdad for a protest on Friday. They are to express support for Hezbollah guerrillas fighting Israeli forces in Lebanon. The Iranian president says his country is still considering an international offer of aid in exchange for suspending its nuclear activities. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said he is open to negotiations to settle the nuclear dispute. He spoke Thursday while attending a meeting of Muslim leaders in Malaysia. The United Nations Security Council has threatened Iran with possible restrictions if the country fails to suspend its nuclear activities by the end of the month. Earlier this week, Mr. Ahmadinejad rejected the UN resolution and said Iran would not give up its right to a peaceful nuclear program. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization says Taliban rebels have killed 3 NATO soldiers in an attack in southern Afghanistan. A spokesman for the Canadian government says the 3 were from Canada. 6 other soldiers were wounded in the attack in Kandahar province. Also Thursday, a man drove a car filled with explosives into a market in Kandahar province. That attack killed at least 21 people and wounded 13 others. Hours earlier, NATO officials said 2 other bombings in Kandahar province killed a Canadian soldier and wounded 4 others. Also Thursday, Afghan police said NATO and Afghan government soldiers killed or wounded 22 rebels in a raid in Helmand province. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. Military officials in Sri Lanka say an artillery attack has killed at least 17 civilians. Shells hit 3 schools where people were sheltering from fighting in the Trincomalee area. It is not clear if the Sri Lankan military or Tamil rebels fired the shells. Government forces and Tamil rebels fought each other in several places Thursday in and around Trincomalee. Sri Lankan forces began an offensive last week to end rebel control of a waterway that provides water for farmland. A powerful storm has struck southern China. The storm, called Typhoon Prapirun, has hit Guangdong province near the city of Yangjiang. Local boat service and air travel has been canceled. Chinese state media reports that officials have moved 65,000 people to safer areas. Guangdong, Guangxi, and Hainan provinces have been affected. The storm is expected to lose strength as it moves over land. The President of Ukraine has nominated his main political opponent as the country's new Prime Minister. President Viktor Yushchenko announced the nomination of Viktor Yanukovych Thursday. The Ukrainian parliament has postponed a confirmation vote until Friday. Officials say the postponement will give supporters of Mr. Yanukovych time to organize the new coalition. It will include supporters of Mr. Yushchenko. The 2 sides also signed a declaration that restates Ukraine's desire for membership in NATO. They also agreed to call a special election on the issue. President Bush is urging Cubans to seek democratic reforms in their country. The President says the United States supports the goals of democracy and freedom. Mr. Bush released a statement Thursday. Monday, Raul Castro was appointed temporary leader of Cuba by his brother Fidel, who is suffering from health problems. Briefly, here again is the major news. Sources in Lebanon say Israeli airplanes have bombed a Hezbollah target in southern Beirut for a second day. In southern Afghanistan, an attack by Taliban rebels has killed 3 NATO soldiers. And the commander of U.S. forces in the Middle East says a civil war could develop in Iraq if religious violence is not stopped. That's the news in VOA Special English. This is Jim Tedder reporting.